Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to a Monday Mindset here. It is 10 o'clock. It is December 1st, the last month of the year. Just going to go to my Facebook real quick, make sure you guys can hear my audio. Let me know if you can hear the audio in the comments. Let me know you're good to go. I hope you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving. Went down to Virginia, down to Lynchburg, where most of my family is, and I think we had like 60 acres in one place, which is kind of a scary thought, honestly. It was an amazing Thanksgiving. Want to talk to you guys about goal setting, because goal setting, obviously, we are at that time of the year. You probably already have thought about your goals. Maybe some of you have gone through budgeting already. I know for us, we usually start the budgeting process at the end of September. And so we usually use October to look at our goals and to start looking at budgets, in November to start refining them. And then December is really just to, start really locking down our plans. The way I try to think about goal setting, because I figured I'd talk to you guys today to give you some thoughts on how we set goals and some of the things I've learned in goal setting over the years. Would love to hear your take, because it really is an art. I try to get better and better at the science of goal setting, but it's really an art, because some things feel like they work sometimes, but not other times. And sometimes I feel like it takes just a little bit of, like, you can have the science behind it, but it takes some talent there. But the best place always to start with goal setting, in my mind, is really a reflective recap of your history and what you've done. Because the best indicator of future success is what you have historically done. And so you can look and see, okay, what have I done in my sales? What have I done in my business? And where have those successes come from? Hopefully you guys are tracking. I've done a lot of mindsets on the power of making sure that you act, track, and pivot, right? You take action, you track your results because you can't improve what you don't measure, and then you end up iterating. You pivot on what you've done because you're learning in the process of doing. And so hopefully you've tracked this year where have your deals come from. What were your CPL costs, your cost per leads? What were your costs per close? Like, knowing these numbers will help you become really, really good at the math of business, because business is just math, really. You've got to look at, hey, how much am I spending to acquire a client? Where are the places I can get those clients? Do I have the ability to spend more in those areas? And then rinse and repeat, essentially, if your cost of acquisition is lower than your LTV, because you want a good, probably 4-to-1 ratio, but the best businesses have even higher ratios than that. But a good 4-to-1 ratio would be great for your LTV to cost of acquisition, where you're getting 4 times the value of what it took you to acquire that customer. So I always start with goal setting of, hey, what have we actually done and how did we do it? Because it tells me probably what's going to happen next year if nothing changes. And then I have kind of 2 mindsets when it comes to goal setting. I believe in the 10X mindset. From this viewpoint, I believe in it from the viewpoint of, you should start by going, hey, here's what we're currently doing. Here's where we want to be. Let's then 10X that and write down what would it take in order to get to 10X of where we want to be. Because that will make you think differently. And it will open up just your creative mindset from a standpoint of, like, well, why can't I do more than what I'm doing? Because we as human beings, I don't know if you call it evolutionary or what do you want to refer to it as, but we tend to be, self-preserving. So we try to protect ourselves, and we tend to set reasonable goals and realistic things so we can feel good about ourselves. And we need somebody to push us so we're unreasonable, right? I think someone that we interviewed on the podcast one time, who's a big coach in the space, said he doesn't believe in SMART goals. He believes in stupid goals. And then he added an acronym for how stupid really is about, 10Xing your goals. It was just another way to say that, where you want to be unreasonable, because nobody who did anything great in this life did something reasonable. They always did something unreasonable, outside of the box, outside of the norm, push themselves to something that you would not think is possible. So you want to take an angle when you're first goal setting, or at least I do, where it goes, hey, where do I want to be? And what would it take to get 10X that? So if I want to grow by $1 million, what would it take to grow by $10 million? And write down what that would take in leads, what that would take in sales, what that would take in service professionals, what would that take in the number of clients you need, and how would you accomplish that? Because it gets your creativity going. But I don't believe in 10X goal setting from the standpoint of accountability. What I have found is that when you set 10x goals, you tend to not hit them. So it helps you from a motivation standpoint. It helps push you, but it does not hold you accountable, because your brain and the people of the brains of the people that you lead, they know it's an unreasonable goal. So when they fail to hit that unreasonable goal, yes, the saying is you shoot for the stars, you land on the moon. That does happen, but you don't really have accountability of what that moon is that they're landing on. And then you can't have consequences in reward. And so what I found is when I tried to set 10x goals for the people that I lead, I found that I was in this weird middle, because they're not hitting the 10x goal, but I still feel like they should be doing better than what they are doing. But if I'm going to write them up or have consequences for not hitting the 10x goal, well, then I would have to have consequences for everybody. So why is this person I feel like is doing enough? And the goals get murky. So I believe in setting, going through the creative process of doing a 10x goal setting to try to spark your creativity, to try to help you think outside the box, so you can then set really smart goals that are specific, goals that are, time bound, that are reasonable, that are measurable, that will help you, and they're relevant to obviously what you're trying to accomplish, that will help you zone in and go, if I don't hit this goal, I do know that I am failing. If I don't hit this goal, I do know that what is happening right now is not good for the business. And a lot of people like to think of these as like, this is my main goal, my minimum goal, call it an MPR, minimal performance requirement. And then I have my stretch goal that I really want to hit. So they'll set kind of two targets that, hey, this is my NPR, that if I go below this, then I got to change stuff in this business because we are not performing. Like, I can't go home at night unless I hit these NPRs. But then I have my stretch goal, which is where I build my whole plan around, which is what I want to hit. And hopefully I hit my stretch goal, but more than likely I'm going to land between my NPR and my stretch goal. That tends to be how we do it at Reminder Media, because when I started to set goals purely just off of a 10X mindset, everything got murky. Things got lack of clarity. I thought people should be doing better than they are doing. They felt like they were doing good, but it was an unreasonable goal, so it made it all murky. So I encourage people to do SMART goals, which SMART, I think the acronym is like specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So you want a specific goal. You want it to be specific so you know with clarity what you're trying to do, because think about this. If you confuse, you lose. And complexity is the enemy of execution. Clarity is the friend of execution. So if you have clarity, you have confidence. And when you have confidence, you'll act. And so what happens to people is they set goals, but they're very gray. They're not specific. And a lot of people like to use the analogy of like weight loss. Like, hey, I want to lose weight. Yeah, that's great. It's a great goal, but it's not specific. You want to lose what? 15 pounds. That's more specific. And then it's measurable. Well, how are you going to measure that? Well, it's easy, right? Do you go down in 15 pounds? And then is it achievable? Is it reasonable to lose 15 pounds? I think it is reasonable to lose 15 pounds. Is it relevant? Yes, because my goal is to get healthier. So it's very relevant to my overall goal to lose 15 pounds. And then is it time bound? Well, what time do I want to lose the 15 pounds in? Oh, I want to lose them in the next 90 days. You need to do that for the components of your company. You have your big goal, which is your goal pushing the company forward. Maybe it's your overall revenue growth, but then that revenue growth is set out by small goals. And then for each of those small goals, they should be specific and measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. The other thing that I'll leave you with when it comes to goal setting that I have found is, when you have goals, you really need to make sure that you have an accountability partner in those goals, especially when you guys are solopreneurs like so many of you are. It's easy to set goals that you don't follow. And so many businesses that I have talked to, they have these goals, but they're not really accountable to them because they're a solopreneur. And the only thing that makes you accountable is really your bank account. And it is really, really wise when you do goal setting to try to bring in an accountability partner that you walk them through your goals. You walk them through how you got to setting those goals. You ask them to hold you accountable and do check-ins for you on those goals. And even to make it better, you should put a reward and a consequence for you over the time. Obviously, the ultimate reward is the growth of your business and the income that's generated from that. But, consequence-wise, not only do you not make the income, but it's great to have this kind of extrinsic peer pressure, because it's one of the arts of persuasion. It's one of the motivating factors that we all have, this peer pressure and this accountability to help you move. So I would just encourage you, get an accountability partner that you will show your goals to, or show them your goals to help them hold you accountable. So we're in the goal setting season. I also believe that you should have goals for I call it the 6 F's, right? So you have your faith, your family, your friends, your finance, your fitness, and your fun. Maybe I would add a 7th F, which would be fulfillment. But I call it like you should be a 6-dimensional person. So you should have goals for your faith, goals for your family, goals for your friendships, goals for your fitness, goals for your finance, and then goals for your fun, which is your hobbies. And in those areas, they should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. And in setting those, you should then have an accountability partner for each of those things. Because we're all a work in progress. You've all read Atomic Habits. We're all just trying to get 1% better. The purpose of having a goal is because the goal will then lead you to having a plan. So you have your goals, you have your assumptions, then you have your strategies, and you have your playbooks. So your goal is what you want to hit. The assumptions are what it's going to take to get there. Your strategies are how you're going to actually execute. And then, or I should say, your strategies are your overall plan, and then your playbook is how you're going to actually execute. So when you set your goal, you're going to have, here's my goal, and here's my assumptions that I made in order to achieve this goal. Here's my strategies that I'm going to work in order to achieve this goal, and here's the playbooks I'm going to run in order to achieve these strategies that help me achieve these goals. So that's how it works. Go set your goals. You cannot hit a target that doesn't exist. And the person who watches their weight every single day and gets on the scale and has a target that's specific and measurable and time-bound is a lot more likely to hit that weight loss goal than the person who never looks at their scale, who has no specifics around their goal and just says they want to lose weight. All right, guys, get out there and win this week for your families, for your friends, for your clients, for yourself. Let's make it happen. Happy Monday, December 1st, 1 month to go. We're already in first quarter of next year. So not that December's a wash. It's just what you do today will show up in January and February. Make it happen. Appreciate you guys.